Hello, welcome back. First thing you need to do, grab some scraps. I have browns, I have golds, I have some that has a little bit of glitter in it and some whites in the browns. And you're going to just take those and mix those up together, and you want to make sure that you can dish in these scraps well as you mix them together, okay? I have some reds that I'm going to mix together. There's a couple different shades of red here. Some are brighter and some are darker, okay? And then I have several different shades of green that I will be mixing together, as well as some that, you see that little bit of yellow? It's an old leaf cane. So I'm gonna take those and work with those as well. So we'll start with this guy. And you don't need a ton of clay. That's one of the things that I like about this project. And this is a quick gift, little something to add in for a young lady in my family who really likes mushrooms. If you want to get your colors mixed up faster instead of just using your hands to mix them together, you can use your roller and then just fold it over and then continue to roll it again, or you can always use your pasta machine. But I find that since I'm working with just this small little amount, it's easy enough for me to just use my roller several times and mix those colors up as I need. Looks pretty good. That's our first little bit. We're going to set that aside. I'm going to take some of this green, mix it up a little bit of this brighter green, not too much, just a little bit. Brighten that color up a little bit. And this is going to be my basis. Give this just a couple of rolls. And it'll be good to go too. There's a couple different ways you could go about it, but what I found was the easiest for me is because I want a couple little roots and some branches. I'm gonna take it and kind of pinch it out a little bit. Like from one side and then the other. Because then we know we'll have some up here as well. Okay. This guy's kind of too skinny, so I'm going to push him back in there a little bit. Here at the top, which you won't see a lot of, but it'll give some depth. Maybe just a little bit more coming up out of the middle. Kind of push in. I like to take and get just a little bit of texture, because tree trunks aren't flat. Bark. And give some layers and lines and dimensions of interest. Keep adjusting the tree until you're happy with it. And now you're going to take a little bit of a green and you're going to roll it out flat, because this is going to be the base for our grass and our trees. Like so. You'll want to take your green section and a ball stylus and start working in downward strokes like you're making grass, but this is just our first step. Once completed, you're going to want to take your ball stylus and start working along the edges of your clay and pulling away little bits of sections and kind of roughing it up, for lack of a better term. And the edges are going to be more organic and natural looking, by doing it this way. Okay, I'm going to take these little pieces back over here. Using those pieces that we had just pulled off the edges, it's already got kind of like a little crumbly effect to it. And then just take it back over and put it on the top and press it down into the clay that you just gave that grassy effect to. You're doing this because you want to think of it like this, like you're building layers. You know, if you look at grass outside, it's not just flat, and you know the forest floor has, or the trees or whatever, have more going on in them than just one layer. So you can even take it and like overlap on the tree trunk or bring it up so you see little tiny bits and pieces coming up along the tree and build it out a little bit further to your edges, and it's just going to help create more interest in our piece. For your mushroom. That might be a little bit more than I want. So let's go that. And take one of your dotting tools. Press in. And swirling your ball stylus around helps widen your opening of your mushroom, and it will also widen the whole piece just a little bit, and that'll give you room to be able to put your stem in. Then use your fingers to kind of shape it just a little bit. You can make them flatter, more pointy, you know, it's entirely up to you, because we all know that there's mushrooms come in all shapes and sizes. You can make your mushroom more pointy along the top, and you can make it wider. It's up to you. Take right, and I still think that might be too big. And take your stem. I actually like to take the little ones and press in. Can dot into it. I like to put other colors into mine, like little white dots. But there's so many fun ways that you can make little mushrooms. The one that I'm currently working on. And then to do the leaves, on top, I do something totally different. Take the clay. Start working with little itty bitty tiny bits. This size. So right now you're going for more of your basis, your background, that you're not going to see that much of, so I'm not really worried about the shape or the sizes or anything like that. But by doing it this way, again, it stays in with that idea of levels and depth within your tree. You can change it up. Get some in there that have some different colors. That's why I like using the scrap clay, and using some scrap clay like this one that's got some yellow in it. Definitely gives you some visual interest. And it's almost like breaking up those little pieces and crumbling them up. Take some scraps. Any colors that you want. In this case, I got a little bit of red, brown mixed in here with my green, and that's okay because it's going to make it just a little bit darker than this lighter green that I have. I'll make a stop over here, and I'm just going to take them and mix them up. So I've got a solid, consistent color. So these are the same exact color of green. This one had more blue in it. This one has more red in it. This one had a little bitty tiny bit of white, but mostly blue. You can see how much fun it is when you start mixing up leftovers. Let's see, here's some light color. Let's see what we get with these guys. Since we're working with scraps, you can always just take some of your other green. There we go, that's better. It's still gray, but it's got a little bit more green in it. Grab some bright green because we need one more layer for our Skinner blend. All right, we have that colors, and now we're going to make a Skinner blend using the teardrop method. We're working from darkest to lightest. Do not worry if the sizes aren't the exact same amounts, and because we're going to be turning these into a bullseye cane, and I'm going to add just a little itty bitty tiny bit of white to the end. Now you want to make sure that you are alternating your thicker end and your lighter end whenever you're putting a Skinner blend together like this. And we all know that there are so many different ways that you can do Skinner blends, but this is probably just the quickest and the easiest, especially when you're not worrying about the perfection of your colors, and you can do it really quick. And like I said, I'm going to turn this into a bullseye cane, so it's not critical that it's perfectly blended. Okay, to finish these mushroom pieces up, you want to add a little bit of extra green. And right here along where the stems meet the ground. You don't want to just have a little white stem sticking out into the middle of nowhere. It's got to have something to finish it. Okay. And then this little white guy back here, I tucked in behind this root. On the tops of these mushroom caps, I use different sized of these guys. And just give it little decorations. It looks a little bit more like a morel type mushroom cap. You can put marks on these guys if you want to. These little details, all these little things that you do, add to it. This guy has already baked for an hour. It needs to cure. It needs to cure longer. Here's what the back looks like since it was. See, that one had a lot more stems than this guy did. He's also a bigger tree. Now, this is the hard part because I did it directly on here. Gotta go really slow. Okay, now I can breathe again. Now the backing of something else that'll make it nice and secure. So, have some fun playing with some woodland fun creations. And if you look at it from the top, then you can see if you missed any spots. Okay, so it's just a little one. So I'm going to take it, cut it in approximately half, flip it over, and now I'm going to run it through the pasta machine long ways. You can see the lines in there, just a little bit. Take it and quarter it, approximately. It's still a little softer than I want it to be. We're going to take this edge in, and we're going to bring them up. And do the same thing with all four. As you finish pulling up the darker green onto the lighter green, you want to take all four of your pieces and pretty much make sure that they're the same length. When you lay them together now, you're going to alternate thicker to thinner edges, similar to how we did the Skinner blend. Or you could think about it this way: inside piece from the core of the Skinner blend to outside piece, and back and forth. Now, you want to compress them all nicely together. You want to lengthen it just a little tiny bit and compress it and make sure that everything is all nice and neatly together. And then you're going to grab just a little bit of a darker green clay than you have used before. I want you to take it and roll it through your pasta machine or to use your roller. It's entirely up to you. And just make a nice little thin sheet, okay? We're going to put this on there and cut it to measure to length so that it will fit, and then trim it off, and then do the same thing on the other side as well. I got lucky. I had a piece that actually fit on the other side. I didn't have to run it back through my pasta machine again. But I tell you what, if I had tried to do that, it never would have worked. It was just complete luck that that piece actually fit on both sides. So hopefully you will have the same luck. Now, with the dark green on the top and the bottom, you're going to take your piece and go for the teardrop shape. Again, going along the top and pinching that darker green color together. And at this point, you're basically making a triangle. You know, you're really not worrying too much about what's going on in the bottom. You're just slowly taking your time and pinching those pieces up together. And then you kind of roll it a little bit along the board or your table work surface, which will give you that curved teardrop shape along the back. Okay, so just keep working it until you are happy with it, till you have a nice rounded bottom, maintaining your edges. Try and keep the point nice at the top. It off a little bit, see if I like where it's going, and then I need to cut it one more time. At least I might need to do it more than once, but I'm going to combine these back together to themselves. I'm creating layers and lines inside this leaf shape that I'm working on right now. I'm not necessarily worried about the straightness and the perfection because they're gonna be so tiny on this project. Taking small little trimmings off your edges gives you an example of what it looks like, so you will know if you need to add another layer, meaning, you know, you want to cut it in half again and combine it again if you want more layers. But the more you do that, the tinier your lines will become and the less definition you will have. I'm really liking it. This is the effect that I wanted. And then roll. And then give it a little stretch. really don't want to go too much further with it because it's so soft. So it's a perfect time to use those end pieces of the cane and to reduce that part and make it smaller, and then let the rest of the cane rest because it's so soft. If you pinch your fingers together as you work your way down the clay, it will help you be able to reduce it quickly and effectively, maintaining your leaf shape. Okay, so here's the little one, about 1.5 inches. Here's my longer one. It's about 2 inches. And the nice thing about keeping this one a little bit larger is in the future, if I want to use this leaf for a bigger project, it gives me options, as well as if I need to condition it further, it gives me a little bit more wiggle room. I'm not trying to condition down from something this small, or smaller as the case may be. So let's see, can we get a little skinny leaf? Well, even after it's set all this time, it's still soft. There you go. Let's make it a nice, pretty, striped leaf. Add them to another project. But if you want to make this smaller, just remember, pinch with these fingers, and you're going to push in. Okay? Push in. And then roll on this end to keep one side flat. Push down on this end and roll. And there you go. Just take your time for tinier leaves. Let's cut a little bit of that end off. So if you wanted to, you could take these little tiny leaves and add them to your tree. Or you can make it more down here, like there is something actually growing down here in the grass besides just the mushrooms. And it gives you more interest and definition in your piece. Just take a couple little leaves and bring them together. Oops. Come back here, little friend. Little itty bitty tiny things that make a difference in your piece. Now, if you wanted to take one of these guys, you could give it a little bit of a twist, which will change how your leaf looks as well. That gives it a lot of fun too. See how it just changes it. Ooh, I think I like that. Yeah, I like that. Okay, they're both out of the oven, and I have them sitting here against this white background. And the canvas that I have is actually too large. I need to get a smaller one. But I wanted to show you what the differences look like between the two trees. And here's the back of both of them. And you can see the depth, layers, dimensions that I gave them. But when I adhere them to this canvas, I'm gonna do, something like this so that you get even more layers and depth, but I need more of one that's about this size. You know, if you want to see what they look like against a darker color, they really pop when they're, instead of just against the white. They really stand out. But I need to get a smaller canvas. You're only limited by your imagination. Detailed and fun they are, and you can tell this is the first one that I did. I don't have as much in the leaves down here. I did the little white dots on those mushrooms. I think this tree trunk is a little bit better as far as the bark goes, maybe right in here, but then I really like right here and right here how you get that. And if this one wasn't as thick, I could have made it taller as well. So just play with it, have fun. I love this little detail right here with this root over that mushroom, like it's growing behind it, kind of like I did it over here, but it's more pronounced on this one. So, but you could take just little tiny bits of color and kind of tuck it into the leaves. You can make your grass area larger. You know, I just tried to stay in a smaller area for you guys to see what I was doing and not make it too big. And as it is, you know, this video turned out to be a lot longer than I had originally intended, but I like them both. I like them for different reasons. I like the shape of this tree better. I like that I can see the bark here, and I like that I left that little spot open. But I like the colors in these leaves better. It looks a little bit more like it's starting to turn to fall, these little leaves down here. But I love that tree root. But I like that on this one I added the extra green on top of just leaving it where I was pulling it off from the beginning. So there's lots of different ideas, lots of different ways that you can go about it. One other thought, you could always take green clay and do that as your base and blue clay up here if you wanted to keep the whole thing as clay and make it, you know, a larger piece or whatever. Go for it, have fun. Make little spotted ones, make ones that look more like morels, make them in different colors. Keeping in mind that this really is only a scrap project intentionally, I went and got a bunch of greens and blues out of my scraps, as you can see sitting here, and I just crumpled them all together. And I'm making just a little bit of a Skinner blend out of it to make a background. It's still a little too stripy for me, so I'm gonna kind of fold it over a little bit. I have a lot of green here, so I'm going to kind of smush that together a little bit. And this blue is a little bit grayer than I want. And I could take, you know, find some of my other bits and pieces, kind of like this guy, and just kind of lay it in there. I guess I'm just kind of feeling like right now that this was a bit of inspiration that I owed you guys after making that comment about using clay only as your background instead of doing something like I'm doing with the canvas. So I know I'm making the video longer. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's not my intention. I kind of need to see it, and I kind of want you guys to be able to see it, and I really didn't want to get paint out. We'll see. We shall see how this turns out. Maybe a couple more times. I just don't want it to look really, really stripy. Okay, so I have lengthened this out, continuing to put it through the pasta machine the same direction as the Skinner blend, but I've thinned it, so this is on a number 4. 0 is my thickest. I think I'm going to take it down to 5. I don't want to get really thin on here. I don't want it to start tearing on me. And you wouldn't either, especially if you were going to use this as your base. But I just got to show you this, guys, because, oh my goodness, the difference that it makes is like night and day. I'm loving it. Okay, guys, I could have continued going in this video, but I decided to turn it into a second video because this one was getting so long. So if you want to see how I turn this tree set into a park, You've got to stay tuned for the second one because, oh my gosh, it is amazing. Please check it out. Talk to you soon.